What's up, guys? This is Holyshok. Decided to make some videos for the people in our guild who are new to 70 Twinking, and I'm going to be showing a few different videos. I'm going to have a few different people help me out with these, but basically this is to help new people who are new learn how to play their class, learn how to do different things in different situations, and set up their bars, set up their spells, macros, and focus things, and anything like that, and gear as well. So me, Holyshok, obviously. First thing I want to go over is gear. Let's start with that. Obviously, there are a few different preferences to things like gear, and that's mainly with the belt and bracers. But as far as best in slot for a Paladin, this is it right here. I do have the engineering goggles, and now professions are pretty much, I would say, preference, but I mean, engineering is definitely a big benefit for Paladins, as well as tailoring. You see, I have engineering and tailoring. Tailoring gives me the sword guard embroidery, which has a chance on hit to give me 200 attack power, which that combined with the engineering trinket of sonic booster of 430, that's a pretty huge bonus as well. I mean, I do get the proc from Bloody Dancing Steel, but anybody who's not 2200 can get the landslide enchant, which is actually better. Most people don't know this is actually better than the berserking one, because the berserking one does give 200 attack power, but it decreases your armor by 5% when it procs. Landslide just does the 200 attack power. It does not decrease your armor by 5%, which is really nice to have. So anyways, as far as gear, you got the engineering goggles, the mayhem projection. We do have patterns in our guild bank for this, and it does take quite a bit of mats, but we can help you out with that and things like that. Neck, the Guardian Pennant of Triumph. This is an honor reward. You go and buy this with 90 honor points, as you can see. The shoulders are the Brutal Gladiator's scaled shoulders. As far as enchants for that, you can go with the PvP enchant, which is the 15 stam and PvP resilience. However, if you're going to go with that, PvP resilience actually doesn't do anything anymore, and it's actually better off to get the Heavy Borean Armor Kit, which will give 18 stamina to the shoulders. I do have the 15 crit, 20 attack power, but that is because I have exalted with the Scryers. And you can get exalted with the Eldor if you're a rogue. We'll go over that in the rogue video. So that's a little bonus, but if you do not have exalted, and it's not that hard to get, you just have to do some turn-ins with some nice stuff and do a few quests. It's not bad. Definitely go with the Heavy Borean Armor Kit, which gives 18 stam. For the cape, it's the Gladiator's Resolution, and I have enchanted with my Sword Guard Embroidery because I have tailoring, and there's the engineering parachute on there. But if not, I would probably advise doing a stamina enchant. This is mainly because, and I would probably advise doing a stamina enchant to most of your gear, only because you're stacking completely crit, and you're getting no stamina benefits there. So probably a stamina enchant. Not too sure what it's called, but you can find it out. The chest, War Harness of Reckless Fury. Some people think that the brutal one is the best, but overall the stats for the War Harness of Reckless Fury are better. 18 stamina, the Heavy Borean Armor Kit, use best to chant there. Some of people like the stat bonus and things like that, but like I said, for a Paladin, it's better to enchant most of your stuff with stamina because you're gemming mostly crit. Obviously these two or whatever. The bracers, now this is where people have preference. The Guardian plate bracers I've had for a long time, and I've actually thought about changing them over to the Lightbringer bracers. I do have these ones, however, enchanted with 19 attack power, because I do like my health where it's at. I have 16.114, and enchanted I have 17k, which is a nice, a nice amount. It's not too much and it's not too little. I see some people enchanting for full attack power and crit, like things like that, which they'll end up with around like 15k health unbuffed, 16k health buffed, However, in an arena situation, when they get dispelled of power and fortitude, they're brought back down to 15, and they are an easy target to kill. So, I mean, like I said, you can enchant some of your stuff stam, but I do believe that those are the only ones. And then my legs have the other one, and I'll go over that in a second, have a non-stam enchant. But so for the bracers, Guardian plate bracers are really nice to use. A lot of people I know are starting to use the Lightbringer bracers, which do have a lot of really good stats. For this and the belt, it doesn't really matter too much. It won't make that much of a difference in the long run. So I guess that's just whatever your preference happens to be. For the gloves, Borderland Pain Grips. Now, the enchant on these, the 24 stam, is by far the best enchant that you can get for a level 70 on any class for your gloves. I would say minus a rogue. Rogue would probably go with the 10 agility enchant, but overall for most classes, the 24 in stam enchant, which are actually, the enchant is called Glove Reinforcements, and they are from leatherworking. So that's really a really good enchant. And then of course I have the haste. If you have tinkering from engineering, I have the haste bonus, the on use haste gloves right here that I pop usually at the start of an arena to help me build up my holy power quickly. And I'll go over that in a little bit. Next we have the Chain of Unleashed Rage. And that is from, and it says the Eye of Eternity trash mobs, but it's actually a Justice Point vendor. You buy from a Justice Point vendor, and I want to say it's 320 Justice Points. Not too much. You do some unstopped BGs, they queue a lot. Get that honor up and convert 500 honor to 250 Justice Points. So it'll take 2 turn-ins of 1,000 honor, which is, yeah, it's a little bit, but it's not too bad. It goes by pretty quick. Now, this as well as the bracers, a lot of people are starting to use the belt of the Lightbringer, or the Lightbringer girdle, I believe it's called, and that does give a lot of good stats. It is only 2 sockets with the Eternal Belt Buckle as well on it, but like I said, it's preference. You know, you can give up some, I think it's like haste for crit for this belt, and either one, like I said, whatever you choose. Next to legs is the Fell Fury leg plates. These are enchanted with the 28 attack power, 8 crit, which I do believe that we may or may not have some in the guild bank, but they're not hard to get. I can double check that at a later time as to what the enchant is called. And we have the Dread Boots of the Legion. These are best in slot for boots. I have them enchanted for 8 stam minor speed increase. You can use the Heavy Borean armor kits on these for 18 stam. However, I do like the little speed increase, the little that it does give. So, I mean, that's technically preference. I mean, whether you want the stam or not, or whatever, for the speed increase. Next, we have the Band of Ruinous Delight. This is from Sunwell. Also, just to covering everything, obviously the Brutals are from the PvP vendor, and the Brutals are PvP vendor, the goggles are from engineering, the belt is from Justice Point's turn-in, and I think that's still the difference for those. Band of Ruinous Delight from Sunwell. I got the Guardians Band of Triumph, which is 75 honor points from the honor vendor. You have the Sonic Booster, which is from engineering, which I said is technically preference. However, it does help you big time whenever it procs, and the 81 stamina is really nice to have. And then finally, there's the Gnomish Lightning Generator, which I use every so often. I use that, or I use my Medallion of the Horde. And that all depends on the comp I'm going against in an arena. Also, it depends on your healer, if he's on top of things like dispels. So that's just preference as far as how good you are, as far as like avoiding CC and things like that. But if you do not have the Sonic Booster and you're not going to go for engineering, there are other replacement trinkets that you can get. Let's see. I do believe, I'm not sure exactly what it's called. Oh, but this add-on is called Atlas Loot. Oh yes, I don't use many add-ons. Um, just I just only use like ones that like you really need for arenas. I think you really need for an arena. So let's see, Black Temple. There is the Madness of the Betrayer, which is really good to have. The 84 base attack power and the 20 hit is nice to have. Also the equip bonus for the crit. And then there is also Sunwell Plateau, Muru. The Black and Naru Sliver can be a nice thing to have. It gives a great amount of stam. The 54 haste is really nice to have, and then the stacking attack power is decent. But overall, definitely the Sonic Booster is a really, really big benefit to have from leveling engineering. The weapon is the Brutal Gladiator Slicer. That costs 245 honor from the honor vendor, and then it is like I said, mine is obviously enchanted with the Bloody Dancing Steel, but the other one, if you do not have that, Landslide, it's great. It is better than the Berserking, which a lot of people don't know. And then finally the Swordbreaker's Bulwark you get from Sunwell. I enchanted it with 18 stamina because, once again, like I said, a lot of my gear is enchanted with stamina to help me boost up my health to a nice amount that can help me survive a lot of different situations. So after that, as far as my bars, obviously a lot of people have different setups as what they like to have. I used to not be, and it actually took me a while to get used to this, I used to not be a keybinder. However, I found that keybinding has made my life a lot easier as far as arenas. And if you don't know what keybinding is, it's you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and things like that, but it's, for example, like you can see here, changing 6 to F on my key, or R to this, and then V, and like things like that. I don't have too much. I mean, I do pretty well without it. It's pretty much personal preference. Even if you like to click, whatever suits you the best. But I've personally found that keybinding helps me out big time. Now I won't be doing an arena in this video, but I will be showing you pretty much the basics of like what to do in some situations. Obviously, you have your one buff, Blessing of Kings. And then as far as rotation, for how to build up holy power, the fastest way, the best way, is by doing this. So I'll be doing this with and without the haste buff, the haste tinker to my gloves, just to show you what this looks like. So typically, let's just assume we're dueling, and dueling against another Paladin or any other non-stealth class, because rogues, unfortunately at this level, as a Paladin, you could probably, if the rogue is good and knows what he's doing, you could most likely expect to lose in a duel. I've lost my fair share of duels against rogues. It's just the way it is, and they're hard to beat. One thing that I also don't do is I don't bubble in duels, so that could probably lead to that. But overall, if the rogue knows what he's doing, they're quite difficult to beat. So in a situation, for example, like another Paladin, when you start the duel, so like 3, 2, 1. One of the things that I first do is lay down consecration. And they may or may not do the same thing. And if they do that, I would advise moving out of it, even if that means taking him out of yours, just to decrease the damage that you're taking. So definitely one of the first things I do is lay down consecration, and this can be in an arena situation as well against non-stealth teams, or even once the rogue comes out of stealth. So one of the first things I do is lay down consecration, and the first attack that I do is Crusader Strike, and this is because it has a shorter cooldown than Judgment. Your main abilities to generate holy power will be Crusader Strike, Judgment, and then when Avenger's Shield procs, and it glows up. Using it will generate a holy power. The proc that does this is it's called. It is Grand Crusader. It's when you dodge or parry a melee attack, you have a 30% chance of refreshing the cooldown, and then it will glow up and things like that. And using it will give you a holy power. So the first thing that I do to generate holy power is to Crusader Strike. And like I said, this is because this has a shorter cooldown than Judgment. After that, I typically Judgment. There's 2 right there. And typically, I mean, depending on if I use the haste trinket or not, the Crusader Strike will be off cooldown. If it is, then I will use it right away to try to generate another 3rd holy power. If it's not, I will immediately do Holy Wrath, which is actually your 3rd highest hitting ability right after Shield, Word of Glory, right after Shield and Word of Glory. If you did not know, for Paladins, as far as, I'll go over talents and glyphs like that and stuff in a second. So that's your 3rd hiding ability after your Shield and Word of Glory. So let me just spend these really quick to show you what this would look like if you're doing it in like a real situation. So Crusader Strike, your Judgment. See how like typically that's not up yet? I'll use Holy Wrath to give myself the nice extra damage, and then I'll Crusader Strike again. For some reason, I have yet to figure this out. A lot of the time when I Crusader Strike for the 2nd time, even if it's not parried or dodged or anything like that, it will not generate a holy power. No idea why, it just seems to be the case. That's when I have to, like obviously, throw down another consecration if I can during that time of the cooldown coming off, or I'll toss another Judgment or something, depending on how my abilities look. So once I have my 3 holy power, this is where the Paladin becomes incredibly deadly, and this is why a lot of people complain about them. Their burst is, and it has the capability of one-shotting, one-hitting, taking pretty much any class from 100% health to 0 all in a matter of seconds, or even a second. If not, then you can pretty much finish them off directly after because of the silence that Shield does when it hits the target. So one of the things I like to do is I have Avenger's Shield and my Word of Glory on my bars, and then I also have it in a macro, and this is because there's some times where I'll use my Shield without my Word of Glory, and I'll use my Word of Glory without my Shield, depending on certain situations like silencing casters or things like that, or just needing to like finish off a target. I'll and while Shield is on cooldown, I like to use it. So the macro that I use is let's see, where is it? It is /cast Avenger's Shield /cast Word of Glory, and then I have my Gnomish Lightning Generator added on there. Obviously, if you don't have Engineering, that will not be added on there, so you can just get rid of the last line. So you save that, and I have that down on my bars. This is for typically when I'm like, I have the Holy Power and I'm ready to burst like hard, especially when they're when the target's bubble is off. So really quick then, in that transition, we'll go to glyphs, which are actually quite needed if you want to do the notorious Paladin one-shot. The glyph of Harsh Words will turn your Word of Glory, anything that you would typically heal, into damage on the target. And then your glyph of Focus Shield will decrease the target's hit by 2, but it'll increase for 30 more damage. This combination right here is very, very deadly, and will, like I said, one-shot most of your opponents, if not bring them down to very low health to finish, then you can finish them off. So, and then I guess talents really quick. The first one is Preference. I have switched between Long Arm of the Law and Speed of Light. Pursuit of Justice I tend not to use for my prot spec. These two, it's the Long Arm of the Law is passive, so you don't have to worry about it, and then Speed of Light you have to use. I'm not really too on top of using Speed of Light all the time, and I don't like the cooldown that it has. I like being able to Judgment for increased speed a lot of the time. The second tier, the 30 tier, excuse me, I like to use Fist of Justice. I have seen Paladins use Repentance, and then typically Holy Pallies go with the evil as a point of view, turn evil into a fear. But for this, personally, I prefer Fist of Justice because I like the cooldown recruit decrease by 30 seconds. Excuse me. Repentance, it can be very good. One thing that I don't like using it for is that it's a cast time, and typically that time it takes me to cast it, I could be doing something else of stunning, CCing, bursting, or even healing my partner. As well as a lot of people, when they see Repentance, they're pretty on top of silencing it, especially at the higher MMR for arenas. And then 45, I like to use Selfless Healer. I do not advise using Eternal Flame because it will take away from your one-shot burst. It will turn Word of Glory into Eternal Flame. And then Sacred Shield, it only absorbs around like 1,000 damage, which at this bracket is absolutely nothing, seeing as this is a one-shot and two-shot bracket. Selfless Healer, you will gain stacks by, you can see Judgment. I'll gain a Selfless Healer stack, and as I Judgment more, it increases. It'll decrease the cost of my flashlight and increase the haste of it. So, and then for the 61, I like to use Clemency. This is because it gives me 2 charges of things like my Hand of Freedom and things like my Hand of Protection. In a lot of situations, those are really helpful, especially when you're getting rooted or if you need to Hand of Protection your partner. It's really helpful. So back to the burst. I'll show you what it looks like with the macro and without. So you're going up and you're going to build your holy power with Crusader Strike, Judgment, Holy Wrath, Crusader Strike. And at this time, I mean, I do have some of my stuff proccing from my gear, but this time you do have your 3 holy power, and you use Avenger's Shield and Word of Glory at the same time. This is not a glitch. This is because the 2 are not on the same global cooldown. You're able to use them both at the same time. This is why you're able to put them into a macro and them to one-shot people. So you build up your holy power, and then you're going to use both at the same time, dealing a lot of damage. As you can see there, my Avengers, my shield did not crit. However, my harsh words, my shield crit. If my harsh words did not, this is a dummy. So this is increased by a little bit. But my Avengers shield hit for a 13,000, and my harsh words hit for a 4,500. Now in a arena situation, those numbers will be a bit decreased. However, when I do have everything procced and I have the target dispelled, I have personally actually hit a 10,200 shield, a 10,200 harsh words, as well as a 5k lightning generator. Of course, add that up, and that's at least 27k health dropped instantly. Just showing that, unfortunately, I mean, I guess against the Paladin, nobody is safe. You cannot have enough health to survive the Paladin's burst in some cases. That doesn't happen often, however, it does happen enough to make a note of it. So, once again, I'll show you, there's building up my burst, and then bursting. Bursting is the Avenger's Shield and the Holy Word of Glory at the same time. Now to quickly show you what it looks like in the macro, which makes your life a little bit easier when you're bursting. You have your Holy Power getting up right here. And then right there. Now I did not have my lightning generator on, so it didn't use that at the same time. But that macro is really convenient when you're going to burst, and you press one button and it kills people. It's as crazy that as it is. That's the way it is for Paladins. As far as your other abilities, Hammer of Wrath is a great finishing move. When they brought to 20% less health, you can use it, and it typically, for me, crits around 2,500, which is a pretty nasty finishing move for most classes. We have Devotion Aura, which decreases all magical damage by 20%, and also makes everybody in your arena or ever unable to be silenced or interrupted, which is incredibly helpful against things like caster comps, like Boomy Rogue, or anything that includes a caster, and as well as Rogue, going against rogues, because it gives your partner the ability to free cast and not have to worry about getting interrupted. I do my Trinket. And then there's Ardent Defender, which is typically I use this as a defensive. Obviously, it's a defensive cooldown. Reduces damage taken by 20%, as well as a attack that would kill you brings you up to 15% health. So usually I use this when I have no other my defensive cooldowns left, and my healer is fully CC'd to try to give me a better chance to survive. This is my Borderland Pain Grasp, my haste gloves. I'll use that. I'll show you right here what that looks like when I use it for my burst. So when I start my arena, I'll go in and pop it, and I'll use that, and I'll already have my burst up. And that's typically, I generally can get my burst up faster than most other paladins, which helps me definitely in the long run of an arena, because I am able to kill people actually within like the first 10 seconds if I run with my brother Jesus, who's very good at that, dispelling and putting in some nice DPS as a priest. So we're able to kill some comps very, very quickly in the arena, which is one of the strong points of a paladin, is being able to kill quick and put a lot of pressure. So that's what the haste gloves. Next I have my Flash of Light, which is very, very crucial to have, obviously to heal yourselves, but then to heal your partner. If you are not CC'd, which crowd controlled by things like fear or stuns or roots or anything like that, you're able to freely cast, I think it's at least about 3 Flash of Lights on your partner before you go to too low of mana to cast on him. And these can crit big time, especially when you have your stacks of Selfless Healer on your healer to help him out, to give him some help when he's getting opened on by things like rogues, which absolutely slam the shit out of any class in this bracket. You can either have a macro to your healer, or you can have your thing right here and you can just target. You can set your healer on focus and things like that to target him, to toss him some heals. This is right here is my macro to target my healer. I changed that obviously as to who my last healer was. I have my stun. I have my focus 1 and my focus 2 stuns. Those are /target arena 1 and /cast Fist of Justice. This allows me to quickly stun an arena target without having to click on their profile and then going to click on my stun and things like that. Arena 1 and 2 will be, in 2s you have your top target and your bottom target. Arena 1 will be the top, Arena 2 will be the bottom. So if I'm going to burst the bottom and I need to stun the top, I can click the first one, and then vice versa, I can click the second one and then instantly switch back to my target that I'm going on. Being a Blood Elf, the silence is awesome to have. Now, the only other paladin on the horde is a Tauren, and his AoE Stomp is very nice to have. It is a cast though, so it's a little bit difficult to use. If you can use it, that's awesome, because it's great to have. I do like the Arcane Torrent for the silence when I'm going for the kill on people. I have my buff, like I said, the Blessing of Kings, the only buff that you have. My Divine Shield, my bubble, which I use defensively. Obviously, if my healer is CC'd, I can use that to prevent dying. Or if I can use that on a lot of classes' burst, like a Boomy Rogue, I'll use that on their burst sometimes to help me take damage off me, to help heal my priest. It's pretty deadly what they're doing. Then I have my Hand of Freedom to get myself out of roots, and then I have my focus target, using my macro to freedom my healer whenever he's rooted and I am not. Then I have my Divine Protection, which reduces magical damage by 40% for 10 seconds. This is really, really helpful against caster comps and things like that. And then I have my Hand of Protection, and then the Hand of Protection macro to target my my partner, which is really, really big, especially if you're running prop Paladin and a Priest. If the rogue is opening on the Priest and he's taking massive amounts of damage and you don't think your healing could be enough, you toss him a nice Hand of Protection. Well, I guess it didn't work. Toss him a Hand of Protection to reduce all the damage that the rogue is doing to nothing, which will help him out big time. And then I have my Rebuke, which interrupts spell casting. You have to use it on cast or else it will not work. A lot of players are good at juking a kick or a Rebuke, so you have to definitely be on top of that. As far as these other abilities, I got like my Righteous Fury. This is for like tanking dungeons. Turn Evil I don't use because I don't use the talent. And then I have my nice Parachute for my engineering. And then my belt, it's speed things and stuff like that. My gear sets, and then this just clusterfuck of mounts and stupid little trinkets and whatever. So that's pretty much it for Paladins as far as just like how they work. I will definitely be showing how they work in different arena situations. As well as I'll be having other people help me out make videos as far as how to do other classes to help out the new 70s in our guild, kind of make that transition from being fresh to knowing what they're doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions for me, obviously message me in game. Other than that, let me just make sure I went over gear, went over how to do this nonsense. Went over talents, glyphs, things like that. So I think we're good. Like I said, message me in game if you have any questions, and I'll try to make some other videos to help you guys out. Alright, see you next time. Bye.